There's a job that doesn't exist yet, and yet I predict within 2 years, every serious company is going to have it. This is absolutely fascinating, and it's the opportunity of a lifetime. It basically won't be a prompt engineer. It's not a data scientist. It's not a head of innovation. And critically, it is not a technical role, which is kind of the part almost everybody gets wrong here. Right now, nobody has claimed it. There is no standard title, there's no job description, there's no qualification, and there's no queue of people applying for it. And if you're an exec in a company, or if you're targeting working in a company, or you want to even be a service provider to others, this is the chance of kind of the whole AI ecosystem blow up, basically, which means that this is sitting there untouched, unclaimed in every company that you've ever potentially worked for of any decent size. Basically, I would say anything beyond 10 staff, this has potential. And I want to be clear about why this matters, because this is not a thought experiment. 92% of employers have now adopted AI in some form. Okay, around a fifth have trained basically, a couple of people to use it. But so almost every business on earth currently has powerful tools spreading through the company with basically nobody owning how they're used. So in theory, 20% have trained, but let's be frank, we all know that level of training is minimal. Okay, so the gap is this job, and whoever fills it becomes extremely difficult to remove from the company. So in this video, I'm going to do three things rather. I'm going to tell you basically exactly what this role is and the 3 questions it exists to answer. I'll also explain to you why this person, what they do and what they don't do in terms of the need to not be technical, and then why the technical people are actually worse at this role. And then at the end, 2 ways to take it, because there's a version for people who are going to be employed and a version for people who want to sell this as a service. But this is genuinely super exciting. I'm super excited about it in terms of the opportunity, and you could crack this and 3x your salary in 2027. So stay for the last part, because I think the second one is a genuine business and it's available right now, precisely because most companies will not hire for this role yet. All right, let's start into it with the distinction this entire job kind of creates. All right, so there's 2 ways to use AI in a business, and they look almost identical from the outside, okay? The first is the task. Okay, you have something to do, you hand it to an AI, the AI comes back and it's done essentially. Write the report, summarize the calls, clean the spreadsheet, draft the proposal. This is genuinely useful and it saves real hours. We all kind of have established this at this point. The second is a system. You take that work, it repeats, and instead of doing it kind of faster each time, you build a way to get it done into something that the business owns, so that you don't have to even think about it. Set it and forget it. The rules, the standards, the examples of good and bad, the point at which a human, possibly has to look at it. So a task that kind of saves you a full afternoon, and then that system compounds over time. So the 10th time it runs is obviously better than the 1st or the 5th or whatever, because every correction gets captured instead of evaporating. So building genuine systems in the business, all right? And here's the problem basically sitting in almost every company right now, is that nobody is really defining and deciding which is which. So somebody sitting in marketing built a brilliant workflow, for example, and it lives just on their laptop, often not even logged in via the company AI account. Or somebody in finance has a set of prompts that have refined over 9 months, and maybe a note on their phone, for example. And then someone connected an agent to a shared drive and solved a problem a couple of months ago. But nobody has ever looked at it since. No one is joining these dots together, and no one is centralizing that data. So each of those was a competent person, of course, solving a real problem in this theoretical term, but none of them are wrong, by the way, but the sum of it is a business with dozens of undocumented, unowned, unmeasured processes, and no single person can basically, pull this all together or know how it's working or not. And this is where the opportunity starts to grow, because this is the mess. And the job I'm describing is a person who essentially goes in and wants to own all of this, all right? So 3 questions. And this is the whole role. Question 1 is what becomes a system in a business? Obviously, not everything should become a system. Most things should not. And essentially a process that runs once a quarter and changes every time should stay as a task, because formalizing it costs more than it saves. But a process that runs 50 times a week on a consistent shape of input tied to revenue or margin definitely should become a system, all right? So let's just take a step away here for a quick second to recap where we are as we go towards this role, because I genuinely see the role being a CPO, Chief Productivity Officer, all right? So imagine this, you're working in a company, you're looking at all the little departments around you, you realize that there's AI expenditure going on at the moment, no one is keeping track of it, there's a cost going out every month, the CFO, the head of accounts or whatever, doesn't really question it too much because the CEO has said, like, you know what, we need AI in the business, just let it float, let it run for a while. No one really cares about that cost. But what's happening over time is that cost is accruing, and really no one is squeezing the juice from that AI. No one's using it. Now what's going to happen in the next 12 months, someone's going to catch up on the collective bill that was spent and say, Jesus, what is going on here? There's no one being in control of this. And not even the cost, but just the lack of productivity that actually could have been capitalized upon for the next year ahead. What I'm getting at with these steps, and I'm going to jump back to the steps now in a second, is that you can, if you're in a business and you see the opportunity that's in front of you, you can create an incredible role for yourself. You can literally 3x your salary in 2027 by following these steps, because all you need to do is gently 1% a day learn some other aspect of AI and then start to pull together the ideas. And what I mean by that is you're going to the accounts department, you're saying to them, guys, listen, hey, I put in a lot of work over the weekend and I have a couple of ideas on ways with which I could make you more efficient. Do you have 15 minutes to talk about what you find super clunky on a weekly basis? Because I'd love to see how I could systemize this. I kind of find it interesting. I kind of find it a bit of a hobby. I would love to show it to you. Go and do that in one department. Go to the next department. Go and do the exact same thing, basically, and start to build out a little document for each individual department and how you can make them more efficient. You then start to package that together. All of a sudden, you're slowly planting the seed and you're kind of defining the pathway that you're the go-to for AI. You know, people will start to refer to you in the office as the person, hey, you should ask him there about that, or ask her there about that. She seems to know what she's talking about. And that pretty quickly really starts to put you into an amazing place, because you're becoming the one who's questioned. The more you're questioned about AI, of course, you're not going to know the answer, but it's so simple to go and learn the answer. You watch a video like this, you go chat to AI itself, you start to kind of unravel what you don't know. Pretty quickly, you then start to get elevated within the company as that go-to contact person. And the point of what I'm trying to get at is, if you can show your boss, hey, I'm bringing productivity to the company, I want to basically grow into an additional role alongside what I'm currently doing, and that role warrants the, let's say, 40% of what a salary would be paid for that person. So you think about it, you take your current salary, and then you go and create this whole additional role, and you're saying to your boss, hey, I'm going to bring huge productivity upside to the business. And I'm obviously not suggesting we go out and hire someone. I'm suggesting that you give me a 30-40% increase on my salary, and I will deliver you the value of 3 or 4 people, because I am going to squeeze every cent out of the AI subscriptions that we currently have. I'm going to make sure it's processed. I'm going to make sure that we as a company own it. And as you saw my video yesterday, you can also say that you're going to make sure that you don't become beholden to one single AI tool, and that you can set this process up in a way that you can export it to a different tool if needs be, therefore keeping the company in a safe place and not stuck to one AI tool. It's honestly a phenomenal opportunity here, and I truly believe that if anyone follows this, and I'd be excited to genuinely help anybody if they want to take a punt on this, reach out to me in the comments. I'm happy to even connect on email or even on WhatsApp, whatever, and I'll guide you through how I think you can do this, because it is such a no-brainer. All right, let's get back to the steps here, the pragmatic ones. With these systems, you can also ask the question of basically who runs this system. So once something is a system, you have to own how it behaves, what the rules are, what the source of truth is, basically what's the desired exact goal, not something vague, but something that's really distinct, to figure out who really is the controller of it. And the final question, once you get that up and running, is does it actually work? Because this is the one that nobody really does. Most companies can tell you what their AI costs, or can rather tell you what their AI costs are, but they also can't tell you what the returns are. So it's just this whole mush of vagueness that everybody feels like they have to jump on the bandwagon, but no one really knows how to maximize it. So, and that is the question that I keep coming back to, is what would be the best move somewhere if the provider, or what would be the move basically if the provider doubled the price tomorrow? And that's what I mentioned about, do you know how to basically, extract and export this? Because that in itself is the opportunity. So the thing about this is it is not a technical role. And why is it not a technical role? Because you have to be empathetic and you have to have relationships with each different department to be able to go and unravel what they need, to go and talk to Jane in accounts, for example, and to understand her challenges, to be able to digest that, as a human, to have that relationship, a conversation, and then to go back to her and show her a system, but also have the relationship to be able to go and implement that. So it doesn't mean that someone has to be hyper technical, because you and I both know to build something, in contrast to put it this way, if you're watching this video, you're probably 10 steps beyond anybody that is around you. In contrast to someone who has no exposure to AI, or they think that AI is basically the new Google, where you're asking it for what's the time zone in New York versus London, like, you're already 10 steps ahead. It's not difficult to build some sort of process. And basically, that is the opportunity here. So, proving that you can build a bit of a business case and then bring it to a director, that is basically AI literacy, and that is the commercial opportunity for you as an executive, or if you want to pitch this externally as a business. So none of this is engineering, and in my experience, a technical person is often the worst person to deliver this. And the reason is because oftentimes someone who's super technical might not have the people skills to be able to engage, or they can't really, think beyond just the inner workings of the technical aspect. They can't deliver it. They can't go pitch it to the boss, whatever. This is a soft skill play, and therefore it is super easy, okay? But basically also, if you're in the business in a non-technical role, you also understand the value of the reporting, the awkward reconciliations that, have to happen, the fact that there's obviously a security risk. I mean, you could argue that's a technical thing as well. But ultimately what I'm trying to get at is this doesn't require you to have some sort of inherent pre-existing knowledge. So basically, this role as well can't be hired for quickly, because what you're pitching to your boss is, or you're pitching this to a company if you want to be a service provider, you're pitching that you are bringing inherent knowledge. So what I would recommend is, if you're thinking of pitching this externally as a service provider to someone, then only target industries that you actually know the industry, okay? Something that the operations or the processes, so that you can recommend the improvements, all right? And it's the continuous improvements that basically will make you irreplaceable with this, because obviously AI is going to continue to, increase and improve. And if you literally set yourself an agenda of getting, firstly, a couple of pillars established with processes across different departments, become known in the business as the go-to person, and then just incrementally every month try to improve those processes. Equally, if you want to pitch this as a service to someone, go into a firm or an industry that the industry, offer your services literally free of charge for a month. It's so easy to do. And then basically within that month, you're going to get several processes up and running, sign an NDA with the company, tell them they own everything, there's no issue there, and then go back after a month, tweak it a little bit, improve it. I mean, come on, you're literally irreplaceable. You can charge whatever you will with that. And also you're going to go beyond that and say, hey, I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to show you that I'm not even trying to lock this up behind a moat. You're not stuck to me. You're not stuck to the tool. I'm going to show you how to actually export this. And when you do that authentically with someone, they actually trust you even more, and you're even less likely to get rid of you. So this is basically the full loop between essentially like how you can go into a business or the business you're in, notice a problem, and basically systemize it and make yourself dramatically more valuable. All right. So this is the thing basically that, you can be the governor of this whole process. You can document the flow, and you can become the person who goes, with the human touch between the departments, and essentially optimize it by leading both the AI side of things and also the problem solving aspect. And think of the number of basically staff salaries that you can essentially eliminate. And also you can say to your boss or to the CEO that you're pitching to, like, hey, look, it's been proven now that AI doesn't lead to layoffs. It actually leads to an expectation of higher productivity, and therefore most companies are actually expected to hire more rather than less with AI. It's like when in the UK, in the Industrial Revolution, when coal became cheaper, it didn't lead to actually cost savings, believe it or not. It just led to a dramatic increase in output, because all of the projects, the initiatives, the ideas that people had wanted to execute but basically couldn't because of cost, they then go and do those things because of that cost reduction. So you can clarify that with the CEO, whether you're pitching as a service or whether you're in a company, all right? So like I said, first, if you're employed, you don't need permission to go do this. Don't wait for the permission, just go and do it. Get one process up and running, done properly, and with kind of a clarity attached to it. Show it to your boss, all right? Pick something that's repeated, that you personally understand as well, and everybody senior is going to care about this because you're showing that you're increasing productivity and saving time. That is so exciting, and you can prove the before and after. So measure it in hours or measure it some way, because honestly, this gets me riled up, because you're sitting on a 3x salary increase if you go and do this. And this is the part that basically people kind of tend to skip. It's presented, not the tool, but the number behind it. Here is what this cost us, here's what it costs us now, and here's how we can do it on repeat in the future, and here's what we can do if something goes wrong. So like, have that clinically laid out in super simple bullet point terms, make it easy for your CEO to consume it, and you are absolutely irreplaceable. And the same goes if you're basically, pitching this to a business, you're going to become the person in the building who becomes known as the value deliverer, the governor of all things AI in a very short period of time. And basically, the second version of this is if you want to sell this, here is why this opportunity. Most companies know they have this problem. Basically, the very few will create a role for it. They won't hire for it. They're just going to sit in a malaise of kind of fear that all of their competitors are doing more, because now the expectation is to be dramatically more productive because of AI. And also the fact that they're spending on AI. So get in and dominate this, because they will absolutely pay for someone who can come in and do it. So the offer is not AI consulting, which is BS, and it's crowded and it's slightly disreputable, I can't even pronounce that word, doesn't have a great reputation. But the offer is much more narrow and much more easy to say yes to. Basically come in, map every AI tool and process that could be put into the business, work out what are tasks and what are systems, build them out with the rules, and document the value that's measured, and make sure you also include how to export it to another tool. That is defined engagement with super defined output, and you can become the CPO, the Chief Productivity Officer. And if you want to sell this as a service, candidly speaking, you could become the Chief Productivity Officer for 4 or 5 different people without a single employee, just you, yourself, and a couple of AI packages, and you can become an absolute animal. And that's the position that I would want you to be in, because basically, there's no risk to this. You probably have a pro AI account already, and basically all you're doing is pitching into the company that you already know, or you're pitching to a company and basically showing that the systems that they have running are not running to the optimum, or the frank likelihood is there are no bloody systems in place. You put them in place, and you're walking into, a huge opportunity here with basically, that you can grow continually, because no one is going to eliminate you. So in both cases, the honest kind of failure mode is that you automate a bad process, all right? And that will just be a feedback thing for you to quickly fix. It's easy, it's fast, to pick it up. And once you have the discipline to stick with this and try to continually 1% a day, keep that mindset just to continually increase and improve, you will do immensely well. So let's kind of finalize this and pull it all together. Every company is filling up with AI processes, or they're spending on it. 92% of companies have the AI tools. A fifth have trained people. That's 80% untrained. Nobody's deciding what should be a task, what should be an asset. Nobody's really governing how the systems behave, and almost no one is measuring it. And no one knows as well how to export this from one tool to the next when the cost goes through the roof, or like Claude back in June 2026 when Fable 5 went offline, right? That is the chance here. This is not a technology gap, it's a management gap. And management gaps are filled by people, not by software. So decide, govern, prove it. And if you work inside a company, this is how you become the person who cannot be replaced. You think the CEO is going to replace the person who's the Chief Productivity Officer who has the keys to all things AI? Absolutely not. They're beholden to you. And also because of the fact that you're going to clearly say, hey, I'm going to also show you how to export this from the different tools, then they're even more beholden to you, because they're mentally not beholden to the AI tool. You're the one who fully controls it. So there's no standard, there's no certificate, there's no established competitor, and there's no crowded market. Basically, in 2 years, I guarantee there will be a title, a job description, and 400 people on LinkedIn claiming this. The window where being early is worth something quite short. So it's open at the moment. And if you found that useful, I would love to hear from you. I'm happy to guide anyone who has an idea on it, because I truly believe that the people who go for this have a clear advantage into 2027, and they're going to become absolutely irreplaceable in the business that they're working in. Or if you want to pitch towards a business, make it, dominate it, and have a huge year ahead.